Emma Carter had always believed in love at first sight. But never in her wildest dreams did she imagine she would fall for the most powerful man in the country, the President of the United States. It all started one evening as she watched his live speech on television. His confidence, his charisma, and the way he commanded the room fascinated her. At first, she dismissed it as admiration, but admiration soon turned into something deeper. She began following his speeches, analyzing every word he spoke, and before she knew it, her heart was no longer her own. She was in love. Unlike many who admired him silently, Emma was different. She wanted the world to know about her love, and she wasn't afraid of the consequences. She took to social media, posting heartfelt messages about how much she loved the president. She called into radio stations, declaring her feelings with passion. Some people found her declarations amusing, others called her crazy, but Emma didn't care. She was determined to get his attention. But would he notice her? And if he did, how would he react? Emma's social media posts quickly gained traction. Some people admired her boldness, while others mocked her. Radio hosts invited her to share her thoughts, and soon, news outlets picked up the story. Who is Emma Carter, and why is she so obsessed with the president? One headline read, "Despite the mixed reactions, Emma remained undeterred." She continued professing her love, writing long letters, and tagging the president's official accounts in every post. Then, one day, something unexpected happened. She received a message, not from the president himself, but from someone who worked for him. "Miss Carter, your messages have been noticed. However, we advise you to cease public declarations, as they could be seen as inappropriate." But Emma wasn't about to stop. Would her persistence get her noticed by the president, or would it get her in trouble? Emma's heart pounded as she read the message from the White House aide. Her love had finally been noticed, but not in the way she had hoped. She took a deep breath and typed a response. "I understand your concern, but my love for the president is real. I will not stop until he knows how much he means to me." She hit send. Within minutes, her post went viral. Some called her brave, others called her insane. That night, Emma received an unexpected visitor. A black SUV pulled up in front of her apartment. Two men in suits stepped out and knocked on her door. "Miss Carter?" one of them asked, flashing a badge. "We need to talk." Fear gripped her, but she stood her ground. "About what?" "Your public statements about the president. We need to know your intentions." Was she in trouble? Or was this her chance to get even closer to the man she loved? Emma swallowed hard as she stepped aside to let the men in. They moved with the quiet confidence of people used to getting answers. One of them, a tall man with a serious expression, took a seat across from her while the other stood by the door. "We're from the Secret Service," the seated agent said, his tone firm but not unkind. "We're here to determine if you pose a security threat to the President of the United States." Emma's eyes widened. "A security threat? I love him." The agent didn't react. "That's exactly why we're here." Emma straightened in her chair. "Love isn't a crime." "It isn't?" The agent agreed, "but obsession can be dangerous. The President has received your messages, Miss Carter. They have not gone unnoticed." Emma's heart raced. He knew about her. The other agent finally spoke. "We need to ask you some questions. Have you attempted to approach the president in person?" "No," Emma said quickly. "I've only expressed my feelings online and on the radio." "Do you intend to physically approach him?" Emma hesitated. "If he wanted to see me, I would." The agents exchanged glances. "We strongly advise you to stop," the first agent said. "If you continue making public declarations, we may have to take further action." Emma clenched her fists. "So what happens now?" The standing agent pulled out a card. "We'll be watching. Stay out of trouble, Miss Carter." With that, they left, closing the door behind them. Emma sat in silence, her mind spinning. The president knew about her. He had seen her messages. But what did he think of her? And more importantly, would he ever acknowledge her himself? Emma sat on her couch, staring at the door long after the agents had left. Her hands were still trembling. The president knew about her. The thought filled her with both excitement and fear. She picked up her phone and opened Twitter. Thousands of notifications flooded her screen. Some people called her brave, others called her crazy. Hashtag Emma loves the president was now trending, but as she scrolled, a new wave of messages made her stomach twist. You're embarrassing yourself. This is harassment. You should be arrested. Watch your back. The government doesn't play games. Her hands shook as she read the threats. Some were from random users, but others seemed more sinister. One message stood out, last warning. Stop, or we'll stop you. Emma's breath hitched. Who was we? Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated before answering. Hello? Silence. Then a low, distorted voice spoke. We see everything you do, Emma. This is your final warning. The line went dead. Emma's heart pounded. Were these just internet trolls, or was this something bigger? She rushed to her window and peeked outside. The black SUV was still parked near her building. Were they watching her? For the first time since she'd started this journey, she felt truly afraid. But she wasn't going to stop. If the president knew who she was, she had to know what he thought of her. She had to hear from him, even if it cost her everything. Emma knew she had two choices: stay silent and let fear win, or take matters into her own hands. And she had come too far to back down now. The president was scheduled to speak at a rally in Washington, D.C., in 2 days. Thousands of people would be there. Security would be tight. But Emma didn't care. She was going. She spent the next day preparing. She bought a new dress, styled her hair, and practiced exactly what she would say if she got the chance. She wasn't going there to cause trouble. She just wanted the president to see her, to hear her. The morning of the rally, she arrived at the venue hours before the gates opened. Secret Service agents stood at every entrance, scanning the crowd. She kept her head down, blending in as best as she could. When the gates finally opened, she moved quickly, finding a spot near the front of the stage. This was it. This was her moment. The crowd roared when the president finally appeared. Emma's heart pounded. He was right there, just a few feet away. As he began to speak, she took a deep breath, cupped her hands around her mouth, and shouted, "I love you, Mr. President." For a split second, everything froze. The president paused. The crowd turned to look at her. And then, security rushed toward her. "Miss, you need to come with us." "No. Let me speak to him. Please, just let me." A strong hand grabbed her arm. The crowd's murmurs turned into whispers. The president glanced in her direction, his expression unreadable. Then he smiled. It was only for a second, but Emma saw it. A brief, amused smile before he turned back to his speech. He saw her. He acknowledged her, but as security dragged her away, she realized something terrifying. This time, she wasn't just being warned. This time, she was in real trouble. The moment Emma was pulled backstage, she knew this was different. No warnings. No polite requests. Just firm grips and cold stares. "Where are you taking me?" she demanded as the agents led her down a hallway away from the crowd. No answer. A door opened, and she was pushed into a small room with nothing but a metal chair and a table. The door slammed shut behind her. She was being detained. Minutes passed. Maybe an hour. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. Then the door opened. A man in a dark suit entered, his eyes sharp. He placed a file on the table and sat across from her. "Miss Carter," he said, opening the folder. "Do you realize the severity of what you just did?" Emma swallowed hard. "I just wanted him to hear me." The man leaned forward. "You caused a security breach. You distracted the president during a public address. People could have panicked. You could have put lives at risk." Emma clenched her fists. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I love him. The agent sighed and slid a paper across the table. Sign this? She glanced at it. A formal warning. It stated that if she made any further public disruptions involving the president, she could face serious legal consequences. Emma hesitated. And if I don't? The man's gaze darkened. Then things get much worse. Before she could decide, the door opened again. A different agent stepped in and whispered something to the man. His expression shifted. Then, to Emma's shock, he grabbed the paper, crumpled it, and stood. You're free to go. Emma blinked. What? No charges. No record. Just leave and don't come back. She was ushered outside, where a black car was waiting for her. Confused but with no other choice, she got in. As the car pulled away, she realized something even more shocking. Someone powerful had just saved her. But who? And why? Emma sat in the back seat of the black car, her mind spinning. Who had pulled the strings to get her out? The driver, an older man in a suit, said nothing. He simply drove, his face unreadable. Emma leaned forward. Who sent you? No response. She pressed again. Please, I just need to know, was it someone from the White House? Still, silence. The car finally stopped in front of her apartment building. The driver stepped out, opened her door, and handed her a small, folded note before getting back in the car. Before she could say another word, he drove off. Emma's hands trembled as she unfolded the note. Go home. Stay quiet. That was it. No name. No explanation. She rushed inside and locked the door behind her. She needed answers. Turning on her laptop, she scoured the internet for any clues. News articles about the rally were everywhere, but none mentioned her. It was as if her outburst had been erased. She checked her social media. All her posts about the event, gone. Her heart pounded. Who was doing this? And why? Determined, she made a list of possibilities. A government official who took pity on her? A wealthy supporter of the president who found her story amusing? The president himself? That last thought sent chills down her spine. But no matter how hard she searched, she found nothing. No leaks, no rumors, no anonymous tips. Whoever helped her didn't want to be found, and that scared her more than anything. Emma sat in her apartment, staring at the note. Go home. Stay quiet. They wanted her to stop, but that only fueled her determination. If someone was going to these lengths to silence her, it meant she was getting close. She needed to push harder. That night, she went live on her social media accounts. Her followers had grown drastically since the rally, and now, thousands of people tuned in. She took a deep breath and looked straight into the camera. They tried to silence me. The comment section exploded. What happened? Are you okay? Who's they? She continued. I was detained. Questioned. Erased from the news. But I won't stop. My feelings are real, and I believe the president deserves to hear them, without interference. She ended the live broadcast before anyone could report it. The reaction was instant. Her story was spreading like wildfire. By morning, #LetEmmaSpeak was trending worldwide. Then the media picked it up. News channels debated whether she was a hopeless romantic or an obsessed stalker. Political commentators speculated on how the White House would respond, and then, her phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Hello? A deep voice spoke. Miss Carter, this is your final warning. Stop now, or you won't like what happens next. The call ended. Emma's hands clenched. She wasn't stopping. Not now. If they wouldn't let her reach the president through words, she would find another way. The next morning, Emma woke up to a knock on her door. Her heart jumped. She wasn't expecting anyone. Peeking through the peephole, she froze. Two men in dark suits. Secret Service. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door. Miss Carter, one of them said, his tone professional but firm. We need to talk. They didn't ask if they could come in. They simply stepped inside. Emma's throat went dry. Am I in trouble? One of the agents, a tall man with graying hair, studied her carefully. We're here on behalf of the White House. There's concern about your behavior. Emma frowned. Concern? The other agent, a woman with sharp eyes, nodded. Your public declarations of love, your social media activity, the rally incident, it's raised questions. Emma crossed her arms. Questions about what? The first agent sighed. Whether this is love or obsession. Emma's stomach twisted. You think I'm crazy. We think the president's safety is a priority, the woman replied. And we need to understand your mental state. Emma clenched her fists. I'm not a threat. I just love him. The agents exchanged a look. Then the man pulled out a folder and set it on the table. We've looked into your past, Miss Carter. Your relationships, your medical history. Emma's blood ran cold. You've been spying on me? The woman's voice softened. We need to make sure you're not a danger to yourself or others. Emma's hands trembled. So what now? Are you going to lock me up? The man shook his head. That depends. Are you willing to stop? Silence filled the room. This was a test. They wanted her to back down, to let go. But could she? After everything, after coming this far, was she ready to give up? Emma's pulse pounded as she stared down the two agents. I'm not stopping, she declared. You can investigate me all you want, but my love is real. The agents exchanged a knowing glance. The woman sighed. Then we'll have to take a deeper look. With that, they left. Emma slammed the door behind them, furious. How dare they question her feelings? But she had no idea what was coming next. Back at the White House, the agents began digging into Emma Carter's past. At first, she seemed like any other woman, born and raised in Texas, a quiet life, no criminal record. But then they found the incident. Her husband, Jonathan Carter, a respected businessman, a loving husband, deceased, died suddenly one day before their 25th wedding anniversary. They were supposed to celebrate their silver jubilee. Emma had planned everything, a grand party, vows renewed, a lifetime of love honored, but instead of celebrating, she was burying him. The loss broke her. Friends reported that she barely spoke for months. She called her husband Mr. President because of how he led their home, firm, authoritative, but loving. He made decisions for their family, guided her through life. He was her world, and when he was gone, she lost herself. Then, just months later, the real president of the United States was inaugurated, and Emma moved to Washington, D.C. She told no one why. But the agents now saw the chilling truth. In her mind, the president had become her husband. She wasn't just in love with him, she believed he was her late husband, reincarnated in the most powerful man in the world. The agents sat in a private briefing room, their faces grim. This isn't just an obsession, the woman said. She's mentally unstable. The man nodded. If we leave her alone, this could escalate. She could try something dangerous. So what do we do? Silence. Finally, the lead agent picked up the phone. We need a psychological evaluation. And if necessary, involuntary commitment. Back in her apartment, Emma paced. She knew they were investigating her, but she didn't care. She had to prove her love. She had to reach him. So she made one last plan, a way to get close to him, once and for all. No more social media. No more waiting. This time, she would act. Emma stood outside the White House at midnight, her heart racing. This was it. She had studied everything, security patterns, guard rotations, blind spots. She knew she had only one chance. The president was inside. Her husband. She had to get to him. Pulling her hood over her head, she crept toward a section of the fence where she had seen workers enter earlier in the day. A delivery entrance. She took a deep breath. Then she climbed. Her fingers gripped the cold metal bars as she hoisted herself up. Her heart pounded as she swung one leg over the top. Then, alarm, loud, blaring. piercing through the silence. She had tripped a motion sensor. Instantly, lights flooded the area. "Freeze!" a voice shouted. She turned. Guards everywhere. She had been caught. Emma dropped to the ground just as armed security swarmed her. A guard grabbed her arm, pulling it behind her back. "You're under arrest for trespassing on restricted federal property," she struggled. "No, you don't understand. I need to see him. He's my husband." The agents exchanged glances. They had heard enough. Within minutes, she was in handcuffs. Within hours, she was being processed. Within a day, she was in a psychiatric facility. A doctor sat across from her, reviewing a file filled with notes on her history, her past, her actions. "Emma," he said softly, "do you understand why you're here?" She shook her head, tears in her eyes. "Because they don't want me to be with him. But I love him. I know he loves me, too." The doctor sighed. "Emma, the president isn't your husband." She glared at him. "Yes, he is. You just don't see it." The doctor exchanged a glance with a colleague. The diagnosis was clear: severe delusional disorder, unresolved grief, and now, a clear danger to herself and others. The White House was informed. The president never spoke about it publicly, but behind closed doors, an order was signed. Emma Carter would remain in psychiatric care indefinitely, for her safety, and for his. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Emma sat in a quiet room, staring out the window. She still believed he would come for her, that one day he would walk through the doors, take her hand, and say, "Come home, my love." But he never did, because he never was, and never would be.